Hello viewers and welcome back to McElroy's Motors, the home of the weird, the boring, the projects, and the adventures. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Before I start this little miniature project here today, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart a massive thank you to everybody who's commented on the news of my grandmother's recent hospitalization. She's now out of the hospital following a massive heart surgery, and she's doing very well. I also want to apologize for my lack of uploads for the last 2 weeks because the weather here has simply been terrible to say the least. It's either been pouring down with rain, or it's been so hot to the point you couldn't even go outside without risk of a heat stroke. So it has been miserable here in Ohio, so I really haven't had time or even the day to do any projects at all. But either way, today is going to be a good day for a project, even though it is sprinkling with rain a little bit. But we do have a miniature project ahead of us, so it's now time to cue the music. Man, that is quite a rare car behind me. It is a VPG MV1. It was designed for people with wheelchairs. So, that's pretty interesting. And apparently its wipers are on strike. Quite an odd looking thing. Apparently it runs on compressed natural gas, which is something I didn't know. It is simply wild to think that this car's covered 2,000 miles since I was up in Michigan last month. And this car's doing just fine. But you may notice this tote in the back seat. I'll come back to that. Oh, for Pete's sakes! Right, we are now officially back at base. If you guys recall, back to when I went to the Saturn National Car Meet in Auburn, Indiana, back in May, I had a great time, but when I came back, some heroic kids happened to notice that this taillight was out. So I took the liberty and went over to AutoZone to buy myself some new bulbs, and they only cost me like $10, and installed them for the back. And it was relatively easy to do so, because these taillight clusters themselves are only held on by 2 Allen-headed screws. And all it took was like 20 minutes to install the new bulbs, as opposed to a newer car which will take years of frustration, anger, and above all else, mating calls or distress signals. But when I was taking apart the taillight clusters themselves, I happened to notice that the taillight wiring looms themselves are coated in 28 years of dirt, debris, pollen, and who knows what other rubbish that has accumulated inside this car for the last 28 years. So in today's video, we are going to take apart the taillight clusters once again and clean off all the wires just to make sure that this car is not a fire hazard when I take this thing on a 2,500 mile road trip this fall. Even though I replaced both bulbs, I just want to knock this side out first because it's my choice. But I just don't remember which screwdriver I used to take apart the taillights. But I imagine it was a pretty thin one because the grooves right here look even thinner than me, which is not an easy feat. Get in. Even though this car is very easy to work on, by far one of the easiest cars I've ever worked on, I will say I wish it was just either Phillips head or flathead screws. Because let me tell you, even though getting these bottom screws out is easy, it could be a lot easier. It should be a lot easier. I did try putting Phillips head screws in, but that got me nowhere. Because, of course, they have to be a specific size thread. You get the idea. And that screw is out. Woo! I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but that is nasty. I have not seen this much dust in my life. Apart from that one time I explored my grandmother's attic for the first time. Now, I'm sure you guys know that these Saturns have plastic body panels. But what's interesting to see is just how hollow it is inside where the taillight sits, because the Saturn also has a steel space frame construction. So it's kind of interesting to see how the car all goes together. But, whew, that is just nasty. Holy cow. Can't emphasize that enough. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want anything to short out on me while I'm driving or possibly cause a fire. I don't think it would. But you know what? It's better to be safe than sorry. I'm I'm going to have emphysema by the time I'm done doing this. And there's a little spider in there too. I'm not afraid of it because the spider is so small, it can make babies on a penny. But if that spider were to jump up at me, you could best bet I would scream like a toddler. Get all the connections. I don't think this taillight cluster has ever been off before I took delivery of the car. And boy, does it show. Time to brush my teeth. No. Alright, that is not perfect, but definitely a damn sight better than it was. Ugh. Goodness gracious. Like I said, I've never seen so much dust anywhere in a car. And my entire bumper is just coated in dust now. At least on this side. One thing I love about this Saturn is it has a big letter R right here on the corner of the taillight cluster. And the left-hand side also has that big L as well. I mean, do people not know that this goes on the right side of the car? Surely not, because I had plans to hang this up on a tree or decorate my house with it or put it on my grandfather's Jeep instead of my Saturn. It's just common sense. But I guess that's an American car for me. An American car from the 1990s for you. Time to put these screws back in. Alright, that's one screw in. Time to get my other nut in the hole. Such a tedious thing. I feel like I'm going at it blindfolded. And the reason why I feel like I'm going at it with a blindfold is because this rubber gasket's in my way. Bloody stupid thing. I guess that's a small design flaw. But let me tell you, I used to have a 2002 Volkswagen Jetta, and these taillight clusters are so much more easier to take off. With the Volkswagen, I feel like I have to go Gott in Himmel and smash the car with a hammer just to get somewhere. Anyway, that's back in place. Let's move on to the driver's side taillight. Well, the taillight cluster on the left-hand side of the vehicle is rather unsurprisingly held on with the same two Allen-headed screws. So let's get those things off real quick. And hopefully it won't be as disgusting. I'm just very thankful that this car is so easy to work on, to the point where I only wish newer cars were this easy. Then again, if they were this easy, they definitely would not be as safe as they claim to be. Alright. 2 screws. Boom. Nearly dropped that second screw. Yep. Taillight cluster should just slide right out. And it's very gross. I'm not going to show it to you on camera this time because if you have arachnophobia, you're not going to like this very much. I'm surprised I'm not screaming like a toddler. Okay, I'm lying. It's not as gross, but still very disgusting and very dusty. Not pleasant. And I do apologize for the background noise. My neighbor decides now to cut the grass. Why couldn't he just wait till the weekend? I have no idea where this dirt debris came from. Surprisingly enough, I don't see as much pollen on this side as I did the other side. But it is still very dusty. It's not like the old lady who had this car before me had a garage. She didn't. That's why the roof and the trunk lid have such paint fade all over it, which I am not worried about it at all because it just adds character to the car. But, whew, bloody Lord, that is dusty. What the heck is this? There's some kind of white thing on there that I can't get my finger into. Let me see if the toothbrush can get in there. Looks like a leaf or some wasp material. I don't know, but looks like it's been there at least 2.5 decades. Because it looks like a leaf without any color. It just looks like white or brown or just dust. Time to put this back in the car. And not do it sideways. Come on. Go in. Get in! I had to put the nut in my mouth for a minute. Gentlemen, calm down. Alright, twist the nuts in place. Everything should be fine, I hope. Alright, everything is the German measure of guten tight. Let's move on to the next thing. As you guys can see, Sadie's trunk is not exactly massive, but it's pretty decent for a car of this size. It's about 12 cubic feet.
But that does bring me on to a problem, because we are planning on taking 4 suitcases for the 4 of us when we drive down for our 2,500-mile road trip that I planned this fall. So as such, with the 4 suitcases on board, it's going to be pretty tight in here, and there's going to be just enough space for souvenirs, but very little else. But right before the back window, there's going to be a little shelf that we can use to store beverages. So what does that mean for snacks? Well, I came up with an engineering genius. And my genius idea is to simply strap a plastic tote onto the roof of my Saturn. Yes, I know, with the tote on the roof, the aerodynamics of this car went from a bog standard 1990s American car to that of a Tesla Cybertruck taking a dump. But at the same time, I do have an idea to help with the airflow in this, because the last thing I want is for the airflow to be hunkered down, because I would like to give this car a clean chance as possible to cut through the air, because this car may or may not be tested to its limits. And as such, I want to give this car a better chance of getting as better gas mileage as it can, while still keeping our snacks as nice and cool as possible. So, I am going to be drilling holes in that tote, just to give it more of an aerodynamic chance. I feel like Jeremy Clarkson. Sometimes my genius generates plastic. I mean, plastic body panels, plastic tote, you get the idea. You guys are going to have to excuse the background noise, because I came to my backyard to get away from the mowers, and now I'm greeted by an ice cream truck. So I guess I just can't win. But either way, let's get to drilling. Well, it's not a round hole, but it will do. Well, that made things worse. The whole thing decided to crack right on the side. So, I guess I have to get myself a stronger tote. Walmart quality. But yep, you can see the crack right there. That is not what I intended to do. Well, because the tote decided to be misfortunate here and decided to crack along the side wall, I'm going to end this video here today. So if you like this video, feel free to like, share, comment, as well as subscribe if you really liked it. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the upcoming adventure, project, and who knows what. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye, everybody. Time now to give my plastic-bodied car some plastic surgery! No.